Good morning, Carolina Village residents. My name is Aline, and you have joined me for a session of our Village Vitality series. And remember, this series is designed to create ease in the body, to work on mobility and flexibility, to work on stability and balance, and to work on strengthening. So it really hits almost all of the major areas that we want to focus on in terms of our physical health. And the cool thing about this class too is hopefully it will address some mental and emotional, and for some even spiritual health as well. So for today's class, if you have a yoga mat, you can set it up like I have mine. And remember, you don't really need a yoga mat unless you have a hard floor. Even then, you don't need a yoga mat unless your chair slides around on the floor. Then I definitely want you to get one. You can either buy one or you can rent one through me. You can reach out to me and I will deliver it to your residence, either your apartment or cottage or wherever you live in the village. I'll get it to you. Also, we'll be using blocks today. Those are also entirely optional, but just a wonderful tool to have. And I will be using blocks in other class formats as well, like our balance and stability class, possibly even strength class as well. So you may want to call me up and rent a few or a couple. You don't need more than two. Beyond that, just your chair, comfy, stretchy clothing, and I do recommend practicing barefoot. Of course, you can wear socks if you want to, but keep in mind that socks can make the floor slick. So when we do our standing exercises, especially if you don't have a mat, you probably don't want to just be in socks unless you're working on carpet today. So for today's class, we're focusing on what I call unclogging. So you may feel kind of stuck. Anyone ever have that stuck feeling? It could be a mental, like you feel stuck in certain thoughts. You feel stuck in a rut, like you're not changing any of your routines or habits. You might feel stuck physically in the body, in your joints, or stuck in other ways. And so the way we'll be moving our body today, the breathing technique that we'll practice are all designed to unstick you. And so I hope that you feel really open and just really flowy and ready to move forward and not be stuck anymore after this class. So for our breathing technique today for centering, we'll be working with square breathing. Hopefully I don't overdo this one. So sorry if you're out there and you're thinking, that's my least favorite breathing technique. A lot of times in yoga, when it's our least favorite, insert whatever it is here, that means we actually need it the most. So that's true for a lot of the exercises and stretches. It can be true for pranayama, which is our breathing techniques as well. So with square breathing, we're working on a 4-part breath cycle. So we have our inhale, and then we hold the breath with no inhale or exhale. And then we have our exhale, and then we hold the breath with no inhale or exhale. So that's the 4 parts. If you don't feel good doing that breath retention, skip it. You'll focus on a 4-count inhale and a 4-count exhale. So you'll do line breathing. But if you can, that breath retention can be really beneficial for our lungs and for our nervous system. And our cardiovascular system too. So if you can add it in, try it out. We're going to attempt to do 4 counts for each of these parts to make that square. And keep in mind, your 4 counts can be slower or faster than mine. So the first few, I will count it out. But if you're finding it very challenging to keep inhaling till I say 4 and to hold the breath till I say 4 and you're straining a lot, then please, when I stop counting, your counts should be faster. So you're still getting 4 counts and you're trying to count at the same rhythm for all the parts, but it'll just be faster. Or if my count was not slow enough, then of course you can slow it down as well. So let's first get in a comfortable position. So for our breathing exercises, we could always practice perched upright, working on the posture, if that's accessible to you. For some of us, just doing the breathing technique takes so much focus that it's really challenging to also focus on posture. So you may want to sort of recline back in your chair. You could even lay down for this breathing technique. So if you're in your living room and you want to relocate to your couch, try not to fall asleep because it's a relaxing technique. But yeah, sometimes with our pranayama exercises, it's more accessible laying down because your body's relaxed and you don't have as many restraints and as much to focus on in terms of body mechanics when you're laying. So otherwise, I recommend if you're staying in the chair to just kind of lean back, give yourself some support, but try not to slouch. So we never want to practice breathing with a closed up torso. So right now I'm kind of folded over on myself. I'm going to try to take a deep breath, and I really don't have anywhere to go with my ribs and with my diaphragm pressing down and my organs trying to expand out. So I want to try to open this up. I didn't even move my hips, just kind of opening up a little bit. Okay, so try to get as comfortable as you can while still maintaining as straight of a back as you can. And go ahead and let your eyes close here. And just first begin to observe the natural breath. Some of us, though, when we close the eyes, we immediately change the breathing, begin to inhale and exhale a little deeper, and that's okay. But just for the next few breaths, we're not trying to work any sort of pattern or timing. We're just trying to observe what kind of movement comes to the abdomen, to the ribs, to the chest when we breathe. How's it different on inhale versus exhale? Does your body seem to prefer one over the other? Does inhale feel easier or exhale? It's just taking little mental notes, playing the role of a little silent witness to your body's inner workings. Trying to stay neutral with that inner voice. Typically, we are our toughest critics. And so try not to assign any sort of negative language or even positive language to what you are observing with your breathing. Just noting. Try to relax the face and the shoulders and the jaw, all of those areas that we might tighten up when we're focusing and concentrating on something. And begin to deepen your breath now if you haven't already. Let's try first a 4-count inhale and a 4-count exhale. And some of you will stay with that breathing, that line breathing, as we may call it. And then we'll expand, if you can, to square breathing from there. So get ready for that first inhale. We're going to inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Let's add the hold. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Continue breathing, inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. Either keeping that same tempo or moving faster or slower. Try to keep the jaw relaxed, the face relaxed, and keep that focus on the air exchange, the sensations and movement that come to the body when you inhale, when you hold or retain the breath, and when you exhale. If you begin to yawn, if your eyes begin to water, any other interesting sensations arise, it's probably your body telling you it's time to stop this breathing technique, that it's done its work. And so respect that and return to normal breathing, or possibly your line breathing, inhaling and exhaling for 4 counts with no pause. But if you're still working on that technique, take about 5 more breath cycles, making 5 more squares. Trying to keep everything relaxed. Finishing up that last round, whichever cycle you're on, even if it's only 4, let's stop with that final breath retention and start to return the breathing back to its natural pattern without you really focusing or controlling it. And you can keep those eyelids heavy or even keep the eyes closed and listen to my guidance. We're going to begin to sit up. So of course, if you've laid down on the couch or anywhere else, you're probably going to want to open your eyes to make your way back to your chair. But if you're still seated in the chair, see if you can just start to lift up to an upright seated position. And then scoot forward to the edge of your chair. So really just the fleshy part of your glutes are on that chair. Most of the leg is free off the edge. And as best as you can by feel, knees are about hip width apart and heels are under the knees. Sitting up as tall as you can, lifting up through the crown of the head. We'll begin our movements today with some neck circles. So dropping that left ear to the left shoulder, keeping the spine long, even as you drop the chin to the chest. And then press that right ear over towards the right shoulder. And then lift the head back to center. If you'd like to practice your square breathing with this, You could try, this is a 4-part movement, and that's a 4-part breathing technique. So if you want to, you can inhale as you drop that left ear to the left shoulder. Retain the breath as you drop chin to chest. Exhale as you roll the right ear to the right shoulder. And retain breath as you lift the head. But if that's too complicated or you just don't want to do it, then don't do it. Take about 2 more circles in this same direction. Noticing if you feel any sticking points. Those are spots where you might have some muscle adhesion or some knots, which can be really common in the neck muscles. We have quite a few of them that overlap and layer along the spine. Take 1 more circle in this direction, perhaps practicing that square breathing. And the next time your head comes to center, pause here, and we'll reverse directions. So if you're trying to practice the square breathing with this, it would be the same, but just in the opposite direction. So you'll take an inhale to drop right ear to right shoulder this time. Retain the breath to drop the chin to the chest. Exhale to press left ear to left shoulder. And retain the breath to lift the head back to center. Take about 4 more circles in this direction. Are you still lifting through the spine? Even though the head is moving now, can we keep that length in the spine? You should be finishing up with that last 1 or 2 circles now. And when you are done, just bring the head back to neutral. And if you haven't opened your eyes yet, go ahead and start to blink them open now. And we'll start working more circular movements. So taking that left arm and right leg out in front of us. If you can, let's work on posture, remaining upright. But if you need a little more support, lean back slightly, bringing that right hand behind you, trying to keep the spine long. So we're just lifting that right leg enough to give room to circle the ankle. So we're circling left wrist and right ankle. It doesn't have to be in the same direction. I think I'm going opposite directions, in fact. Try to work through pointing and flexing the toes, through spreading the fingers and making kind of a fist with those fingers. You don't have to follow my pattern. Create your own. Go ahead and reverse directions now of both of those circles. Just trying to keep steady breathing here, trying to maintain that posture. Then we're going to make these movements bigger and extend to the shoulder and the hip joint. So you can grab under that right leg for some support if you would like to. And you're going to start circling the shoulder and the hip. And we're doing this simultaneously on purpose because sometimes unclogging or getting rid of our habitual patterns that maybe aren't so great for us, we've got to break that cycle. So this is probably something that you've never done. And so you're just doing your best to circle that shoulder and circle that knee or hip. And then go ahead and reverse directions. And it's okay if you get a little bit mixed up and if you end up actually circling the shoulder the same way both times. But do your best. Don't let yourself get too caught up in it, though, or too hung up on it. There is no such thing as perfection in our yoga practice. I honestly don't think there's any such thing as perfection at all. One more circle and release. Pause here for a moment. See if you can notice any differences in those joints that we just worked versus the ones that we haven't. And then we'll switch it out. So straightening out that left leg, straightening out that right arm, lifting that leg just a hair off the ground to create enough space to do a really big circle. You could still do it with your heel on the ground if you need to. But remember, you can also lean back to give some support if this is straining the back too much to try to maintain an upright posture. So go ahead and start circling in either or both directions. So like I'm circling opposite ways. For some reason, that's just where my body wants to go when I start this movement. I don't want to coordinate it. Again, try to work the toes and the fingers through big movements. Change it up. And go ahead and reverse directions. Oh, somehow I didn't. Okay. I just noticed I was moving the same direction with both, which I didn't start out in. So again, see, it's okay. Take about 2 more circles. And then let's make those circular movements bigger, moving into bigger joints now. So drawing that left knee up towards you, holding with that left hand for support, and circling just that right shoulder and left knee or hip. So the knee is what's moving, but we're really working the hip joint right now. Try to keep that left shoulder neutral. It's going to be a little challenging not to roll it too. And reverse directions. Trying to stay lifted, yet relaxed. It's one of the incredibly, possibly frustrating and also beautiful things about yoga is I feel like there's always a duality. Like we're trying to find strength here in the movement, but we're trying not to tense up and tighten up. So we're trying to relax as well. When you've had enough circling, go ahead and release down. Pausing here for a moment before we move on to our next movement pattern or movement sequence. Go ahead and send that left arm out in front of you again. Release that right arm down by the side. Lift that right heel up so you're on those right toes. And we're going to exhale and open leg and arm out to the side. And inhale back to center. Exhale and inhale. So now move at the pace of your breathing. So you may be moving faster or slower than me. Inhaling to open and exhaling to close. The next time that you open out, we're going to keep the foot there. Relax that arm down. Release that foot or heel down and readjust yourself if you need to. So I might shift over to the right just a hair or two just to get the hips a little more comfortable. Maybe I can open this foot out to the side a little bit more to increase the stretch I'm feeling in the legs. And we're going to take an inhale to lift that left arm up. Exhale to move into a side reach. Inhale up And then exhale, move into a forward reach. I'm actually kind of moving at a diagonal so that I'm evenly, I don't want to say straining, but you're putting even pull on the hips and the SI joints, as opposed to if you were reaching forward towards that left leg. So you're going to exhale. I like to bring the hands here to the thighs, kind of push them out and open, and inhale up. Exhale into your side reach, and inhale up. Exhale into your forward reach, and inhale up. I think you got the pattern now, perhaps. Exhaling side reach, inhaling up, exhaling forward reach, inhaling up. Maybe do this 1 or 2 more times. If you would like to hold the stretch a little bit longer in either position, do that. This is your practice, your body. Only you know the sensations that you're feeling and what feels best for your body. And that's ultimately what we want. I can give these suggestions and help guide you through these movements, but you can make them your own. Go ahead and finish up whatever round you're on. And when you're done, you're going to bring that right foot back in towards the middle and release that foot down. Shift those hips back to center. Now straightening out that right arm in front of you, coming up onto the toes and kind of walking that foot in so it's under that left knee. Sit up as tall as you can, engage the core and the back. And we're going to exhale to open out and inhale, center. Exhale, open, and inhale, center. Start to move at your own pace. You can keep that pace if it feels good to you, or you can move faster or slower. Keep lifting through the top of the head. Making these mindful, intentional movements with our breathing. I think that's part of the power of a yoga practice versus just a stretching routine or a strengthening routine, because we're syncing the breath and the body. It's a very special connection. Open out. The next time you open out, release that arm. It's probably pretty tired in the shoulder. Release that heel and possibly shift a little bit over to that left side. Readjust your positioning here, trying to create a 90-degree angle if you can. And we're going to take that other breathing pattern now. Exhaling into our side reach. Inhaling up. And exhaling into our forward reach. And remember, we're going at sort of a diagonal to that left side, just to protect those SI joints, our sacroiliac joints. It's where our sacrum, which is pretty much the base of our spine, connects with the pelvis. Exhaling for each of these reaches. So we exhale as we reach, we inhale as we lift back to center. And remember, you can hold. So we're moving dynamically right now, but you can certainly hold for a breath or two in each of these positions. We're going to go about 5 more breath cycles. So that should give you an idea of maybe holding for 2 breaths in each of these poses, for instance, if you want to. Take one more cycle, or if you're holding, be sure to switch. So if you're holding that side reach that whole time, now go for the front reach. And when you come back to center, guiding that left foot back in, repositioning the hips so they're centered on your chair again. And this time, go ahead and reach both arms out in front of you now. Bring the palms together. Start to interlace or cross, interlace the fingers. I'm trying to think of another way to say it and can't. And then we're going to rotate the fingers towards us and press those palms out just as best as you can. You might not be able to get this exact positioning depending on your wrist and shoulder flexibility. But here we're going to move through a few rounds of cat and cow. So we're going to exhale as we press forward through those hands, straighten the arms, tuck that chin, really scoop out and round out the back. And then on your inhale, see if you can lift those arms up and even behind you. Press the belly forward, the chest forward, lift the chin. And exhale, scooping out and closing down. Inhale, lifting and filling. And continue to cycle through at your own pace. Finding that beautiful inner rhythm. If the arms start to get tired, you can drop them down to the thighs and just keep working on those spinal movements. That's the most important part. But this is giving a nice shoulder stretch when we add the arms like this. And we're trying to get unstuck. One more. On your next inhale, just release the arms and lift up tall. Maybe roll those shoulders up, back, and down, opening that chest forward. And maybe feeling a little more at ease in the body already. Let's take our vinyasa sequences now. So this is where we cycle through with a forward fold and a back bend, and then move on to some more leg movements. So this time, we're going to move breath by breath. So I'm going to demonstrate once first, and then I'm going to have you join me for 3 of these movements. So we're going to inhale the arms up. On the exhale, if you can, you're going to try to open the arms out to the sides and take a swan dive forward. Now, if that's too much, on the back, you're going to bring hands to the thighs instead. So let me demonstrate one more time. Inhaling up. Exhaling, hinging forward into your forward fold. Very next inhale, lifting up. Arms come back out just like they were when we folded. All the way back up to seated. And then exhale, fold. Inhale up. So we're trying to go breath by breath, exhaling to fold, inhaling to lift. We'll do that 3 times. And then we'll do it one more time and hold that forward fold just for a couple breaths. So get ready. Take an inhale to lift up. Exhale, fold forward. Remember, you may move faster or slower than this, so go with your breathing. Inhaling to lift up. And exhaling to fold forward. Taking 3 cycles. Take a 4th fold forward, and this time we'll hang out here for a couple breaths.
Roll those shoulders out perhaps, or move that head side to side. Just trying to release, let the spine traction. And when you're ready to come up, do so on an inhale, trying to lengthen the spine as early up in that lift as you can. Exhale, sending those arms back for a back bend. So we're trying to grab either side of the chair here. And then on an inhale, press forward through the belly, chest, and ribs. And take a couple breaths here in our back bend, pulling away from the back of the chair. Trying to lift up and out. When you're ready to release, do so on an exhale. And then go ahead and straighten out that right leg. No, let's straighten out the left leg first. Inhale, sending those arms up. We're going to rock our sway, trying to maintain a straight spine and trying to have the movement occur at the hips. So we're not hunching forward and then back bending. We're keeping the spine long and we're hinging forward and hinging back. Okay? Inhale those arms up. Exhale to hinge back. If you'd like a little extra challenge, lift that leg as well. Inhale, coming back to center, and exhale, hinging forward. Inhale, center. Exhale, back. Inhale, center. And exhale, forward. Couple more breaths like this. Exhale, back. Optional to lift that leg. Maybe you keep it down. One more time. This time when we lean back, let's hold it here, but don't hold the breath. Keep breathing. Feeling that core engaging, maybe even shaking a little bit with the effort. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed. If you're still holding it, let's inhale up. Exhale the arms down. And we're either going to bring both hands to the right thigh, or if you have your blocks, you're going to grab your blocks. So either both hands on that thigh or hands to blocks. With that same length in the spine, you're going to hinge forward until you feel a good stretch along the back of that left leg, possibly all the way to the calf. And really think about, especially if you're not feeling this stretch in the back of the leg, or you're not feeling much stretch, think about trying to push the belly button towards the thighs, just to get the correct pelvic tilt to really stretch those hamstring muscles on that left leg. Try to release any tension in the head, in the jaw, in the face, in the eyebrows, in the shoulders. And depending on your flexibility level, if you do have blocks like I have, you can always bring them to a lower setting. You can always walk them further forward to accommodate for your flexibility, or for your lack of flexibility, walking the blocks a little further back and bringing them to their highest setting. And you can even kind of make a little pyramid with the fingers to give you a little extra height, but make sure you're not really pressing hard into those fingers. You could do some damage if you have osteoporosis or arthritis. Take one more deep breath here. And on your next inhale, slowly start to lift up. You can take those blocks with you if that's accessible.
And send those blocks down. We're going to shift from here into a high lunge position. So you may want to watch me first, but I'm going to start opening and kind of walking this right foot out to the right side. I'm turning all the way in my chair. My left foot is coming down to the ground. And then I'm going to keep turning towards the back of my chair. So now my hips are kind of on a diagonal to the left of my chair back. And I'm going to rotate onto the toes of that back leg. So this is my high lunge position. So let's go through that together. If you didn't join me that time, I'm going to come back to the front. And let's go through it together. So starting to turn to your right. Shifting in your chair, you can use your hands as much as you need to kind of lift the hips and set them back down. And so you're just going to keep rotating until you're now more facing towards the back of your chair. Come up onto those back toes. High lunge. Should feel a pretty decent stretch in the front of that left hip. Let's inhale that left arm up. Right hand comes to the chair back for support. Take a deep inhale here. And on your exhale, you're going to start to open out to warrior two. So you're going to send that left arm out to the side. You're going to root down onto that foot. So now your hips are facing this way. So this is really getting into those hip joints. Unclogging, y'all. I didn't say it would be a fun process, although hopefully this feels a little bit fun. Let's cycle through a couple more times. So inhale, drop that arm down, pivot onto the toes, shift that hip again towards the back, sending that arm up. Exhale, open out, warrior two. Inhale. Shift to high lunge. So it's not a huge shift in the body, but it's enough. Exhale, open. 2 more times if you can, and if it feels accessible, or if you feel like you want to hold one of these positions instead of finishing the movement, go for it. Last high lunge. Exhale to open out to your last warrior two, maybe sending both arms out this time for a breath. And then slowly release the arms. Start to walk yourself back to center. Finding Tadasana again, our seated mountain pose. Just like we began this sequence with. We're going to take those 3 folds forward. So remember, we're exhaling to fold forward, inhaling to come up. We'll do that 3 times, and then 4th exhale down. We'll hold for a couple breaths. If you have blocks, this time you may want to bring them to the outer edges of the feet so that you can use them in that hold forward. So sitting up tall, gathering the breath, gathering that energy. Let's take an inhale. Maybe do this with the eyes closed. Inhale the arms up. Of course, pause. Only do that if it won't make you dizzy or disoriented. Please be careful and safe. Inhale those arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhaling up. And exhaling to fold. It may take you more than 1 breath. So you might not be able to do this breath by breath like I'm demonstrating. And that's okay. Just initiate that lift on an inhale and initiate the fold on an exhale. This is our last dynamic fold. This time when you exhale and fold forward, hang out there. Maybe using those blocks for support or
to increase the stretch, maybe walking them forward. Try to release the head so you're not holding tension in the neck. Maybe rolling those shoulders out, rolling the neck out, practicing experimentation here. You may do something totally different that I haven't even suggested, and that is beautiful because that means you're working and listening to your body. When you're ready to come up, if you've walked those blocks out or in any other way, just start by bringing the blocks and or your torso, yourself, kind of back to that center position. And then inhale to come all the way up. Maybe arms lift or you're carrying your blocks with you. Let's take that back bend. Taking an inhale to send the arms up again. Exhale to circle them back and down as much as you can to open the chest. Grabbing hold, maybe this time palms open will give you a little bit more of an intense stretch across the chest and the biceps. Open that chest forward, belly forward, chin lifts. Breathe here. And on an exhale, release. I'm going to shift my chair really quick while you just pause there, centering on your breath, getting ready for our next movements. Ooh, try not to hit myself in the face next time. So this time, when you're ready to start moving again, bring that right leg straight out in front of you. If you have a block here, you may want to use this to engage and activate the arms a little bit more. So you're not going to hold it with the fingers. You're going to squeeze it with the palms. And we're going to do that same rocking movement. Long spine. We're exhaling to rock back, maybe lifting that leg too if you want a little bit more abdominal challenge. Inhaling to center and exhaling to reach forward. Inhale, center. Exhale, lean back. Remember, the spine is staying long. You may only move an inch forward and an inch back. That is fine. As long as you're keeping length in the spine and you're not straining the back. Let's take one more lean back. Inhale, center. Release that block if you're using it. If you have blocks, go ahead and put them on either side of your feet. If you don't, bring hands to the thigh. You're going to inhale to lengthen. Exhale, fold that belly forward. So belly button to the thigh, chest towards this bent knee. And if you have those blocks there, awesome. You can bring your hands to the blocks instead of your thigh. But please never put any weight in this straight leg with your hand. So if you don't have blocks, both hands are on this left thigh. We're going to try to hold this stretch here, releasing the head down, settling in, even if it feels like you want to bail out. Can you fight that urge to escape? Can you sit with this slight discomfort and grow from it and come out stronger and come out more flexible? Take about 3 more deep breaths. When you're ready to release the stretch, if you've got blocks, you may want to just bring them with you as you come up. You'll inhale to lift and lengthen all the way up to seated. You can set those blocks down. And we're going to shift now into our high lunge position. So go ahead and join me this time. It should maybe feel a little more familiar to your body, even though we haven't done it on this side yet. But we're going to start to shift now to the left. So keeping that right foot where it is, start to open out to the left side. So again, you can kind of gradually reposition the hips, kind of lift and lower, whatever you need to do to move comfortably towards the back of the chair. So I'm trying to have my hips moving over on a diagonal from my chair back. And I'm going to curl those toes under. Once I find that high lunge position and that stretch in the front of the hip, I'm going to bring the left hand to the chair, right arm up if that's accessible. Deep inhale here. On your exhale, open out to warrior two. So I'm really just rotating the chest and the hips towards the right, rooting that right foot down and opening the arm out to the side. Inhale, high lunge. Exhale, warrior two. A couple more times. Remember, you don't have to move breath by breath. If you would like to hold one position or the other, please do that. If you want to do something totally different, do it. But if you did this on the other side, I recommend trying to do similar. Similar to what you did. Last time in our high lunge. Last time in our warrior two, maybe holding this time for a breath or two. Maybe sending that left arm out. Deep inhale. And exhale, release the arms, slowly make your way back to the front. And we're going to come to standing behind our chair for a really brief standing sequence before we relax and do our Shavasana. So to come up to standing, if you need the support of your hands on the chair, do that. If you don't, if you can come up to standing without any pushing off of the chair or pushing off of the thighs, then I recommend that you join me in a little bit of a chair pose. If you have a block, you can place it between the thighs and squeeze it to activate those inner thighs a little bit more. But if you don't have a block, you want to keep about this width between the knees. So make sure you're not squeezing the knees together. We're only squeezing if we're squeezing a block. Go ahead and come to the edge of that chair. Walk those heels in under you so the heels are going to lift a little bit to start. So squeezing that block, leaning or hinging forward, trying to keep the spine long. Reach those arms forward so that kind of helps shift the center of gravity over the feet to lift the hips, but don't straighten up. Oh, staying in that chair pose, Utkatasana. Go ahead and bring the hands to the heart. Just because the legs are challenging enough, we don't need to add the arms too, unless you want to. Breathe here. Slowly start to straighten up. How slowly can you straighten to standing? Once you've straightened the legs, take an inhale to lift the arms. And exhale to release. Go ahead and ditch the block. I'm going to change my chair here. So if you're using a mat, you may want to also do this. We're going to do a couple wide-legged postures. And so you may want to take your chair and actually bring it this way so that when you do this wide stance, your feet are on the mat. So coming behind the chair for support, let's open those feet out and then open them out a little bit wider so that they're wider than shoulder width. So you want at least to be at shoulder width, which may be about chair leg width. So you can kind of use that as a guide, or wider if you can. Toes will angle out at about a 45-degree angle. We're going to move from star pose, 5-pointed star here, to goddess here, and back and forth, breath by breath. Now, if you can, do it with the arms up if you're good with your balance. If you're not, you're going to do the same lower body positioning, but not arms. Or you could do one arm and then alternate. Okay? So we're going to do about 5 to 8 of these, really just kind of cycling with your breathing, stopping when you feel that your body says, that's enough, or when I tell you. So you can just keep going if you want to until I cue you to stop. Okay, so I'm going to show with one hand on the chair, but if you can, you're going to have both arms doing this movement. So coming to that 5-pointed star, taking an inhale, really reaching out through the fingertips, reaching through the legs. Let's take another inhale here. And exhale, goddess. So we're bending the knees, we're driving them out to the sides and back. So I want to make sure I'm not bowing in with those knees. Inhale, lift and lengthen. And I'm going to switch arms. Exhale, goddess. Switch arms. Again, this is if you're working one arm at a time. Exhale. Moving with your breathing pattern, trying to be slow and steady. Only coming down as far in that goddess plie type position, squat position, as you feel comfortable. Maybe doing 1 or 2 more. Or if your body says, enough is enough already, you're stopping. Last one, if you're still moving. And straighten up. Excellent. From here, you can pretty much stay where you are for a wide-legged forward fold. I would recommend, though, a little bit more space between your hips and the chair. So what I'm going to do, instead of readjusting everything, if you're comfortable with it, you can just slide your chair forward a little bit. If that feels a little treacherous to you, you don't want to go there, you could walk your feet back. Okay? So either way, you really want a very good amount of space. Let me show you the movement, and that may help you determine where you go. So what I would recommend is you pigeon toe the feet. So that's where your toes are angling in a little bit and your heels are angling out. Just gives you a little bit more firm support. Really helps to open up the pelvis in the back. And so what you'll do is move into a forward fold position. It's going to stretch the hamstrings, possibly the inner thighs. Really nice tractioning to the back. So for me even, I might even want that chair further forward so that I can melt the chest down and get a shoulder opening stretch. But for some of you, that's going to be too intense. So you may want the chair a little bit closer so you're kind of dropping maybe your chin down towards your hands or something of that nature. Okay, so that's what we're moving into. So decide how far you want that chair, what you feel good with. Keep a slight little bend in the knees, and let's start to take that fold. Just trying to release and breathe here and keep the spine long. So if you're trying to fold down like I am, make sure you're not rounding in the back. So if you can't move down without rounding like this, then stay a little more upright so you can keep that spine long. Take a couple more deep breaths. Coming out of this very carefully, very slowly. So starting with lifting the head. If you have pushed your chair out, what I would recommend is you kind of pause here and then you start to bring a heel in and then toes and then heel and then the other foot and just kind of get your feet up under you and then walk your feet forward towards the chair, as opposed to just trying to lift up in that wide-legged position. Shake that body out a little bit. And let's relax. So coming to Shavasana, or corpse pose. I know it sounds a little morbid, but we're basically trying to relax the body and the mind so much that I guess it's as if we are a corpse. Easy enough? No, not really. It can be a pretty challenging pose, but I'll try to guide you through a little bit of relaxation and focus to help you just really relax and let go. So I recommend moving to your couch where you can lay flat. You'll lay with arms kind of as much as you can by the sides. Of course, depends on how big your couch is. You can have hands on the belly if you want, or one on the belly and one on the heart. If you are laying down, let those feet kind of open out to the sides. So don't try to keep the legs together. We don't want to hold any tension in the body at all. So you're just kind of letting the legs fall open. If you're staying in the chair, or maybe you move to an armchair, which is more comfy, or a lazy boy or whatnot. But if you're staying in the chair, just like we did in the beginning of class, try to kind of recline back. And I like to interlace the fingers and kind of let traction hold my hands in place, so I'm not using any muscle effort with my arms. And then I like to kind of get my feet out wide, let my knees open out, kind of roll onto the outer edges of the feet just so I know I'm really relaxed. Maybe wiggle and then release. Go ahead and let your eyes close. Just check out that inner landscape. Does anything feel different than when you checked in at the beginning of class? Now begin to notice if you're holding on to tension anywhere. Let's start at the scalp. Maybe imagining a warm, glowing sensation all in the hair and scalp. And this warm glow will begin to wash down and relax the body. So start to feel it wash down towards the ears, towards the back of the neck, towards the forehead. Smoothing and relaxing the eyebrows, the ears, the cheeks, mouth, jaw, neck, washing down over the shoulders, the chest and the back, moving down the arms, the abdomen, the low back, all the way down to the hands and the hips and the glutes. And as this warm wave, this warm glow just washes down the body, it relaxes everything in its path. Moving down the thighs and the backs of the thighs, to the knees and shins and calves, all the way down to the ankles, the feet and the toes. So your whole body is warm and relaxed, heavy and dense. Merging with the support underneath you. Your breathing is easy without control or effort. And in this moment, you simply are. Feeling that totally relaxed, heavy body. Begin to breathe lightness, airiness, weightlessness. Breathe it in, drawing in deep inhales now. Perhaps starting to move first just the fingers, then the toes, then the wrists and the ankles, then the arms and the legs. Maybe reaching out long, especially if you're laying down. Reaching through the fingers and the toes. How much space and length and lightness can you bring into the body? And release that stretch on an exhale. And if you're seated in a chair, you can just come to a more upright position, similar to how we began class. And if you're laying down, you can also do that, or you can stay reclined. And wherever you are, just draw the palms together in front of the heart, thumbs pressing to that heart space. And see what you feel in this moment. And the light and the love within me recognizes that within you. Namaste. When you're ready, you can begin to release the hands and open the eyes. And I hope that you feel a little lighter, a little less stuck. Thank you again for joining me. If you have any questions,
Let me know if you would like a handout for any of the breathing techniques that we cover in class, including square breathing. Reach out to me and I would love to get you basically instructions as to how to practice this breathing technique on your own. It can be wonderful, of course, for lung function, but also for mental and emotional health. It's a huge stress reliever. And I know that probably a lot of us are pretty stressed right now for all sorts of reasons. But anyway, so let me know if you need any help or equipment or anything else. And I will see you next time. Bye.